The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This week in Cincinnati on WCPO 9.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. Among the most hotly contested local races right now is for U.S. Senate in Kentucky. That pits incumbent Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell against Democrat Amy McGrath. We spoke with McConnell a few weeks ago. You can see that interview on your favorite streaming device. Today, though, you will hear from Amy McGrath. I spoke with her Monday via Zoom. Lieutenant Colonel McGrath, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be with you.
So you've served our nation proudly for 20 years in the Marines. In addition to combat, you also advise a member of Congress on defense matters. We want to thank you very much for your service to our country. You have never, though, served an elective office. The U.S. Senate is famously, a clubby place, although lately it's been much more partisan. What from your experience has prepared you to become a legislator at that level?
Well, I think it's quite clear that we need a new generation of leaders in this country. And we have a Senate that is completely broken, completely partisan, so polarized that even in the middle of a national crisis can't get things done. So my background, as you mentioned, is in the United States military. And I'll tell you what, and I've been a leader in the United States Marine Corps. No more excuses. We need people who have been able to understand what it's like to get the mission done, to come into public life and to work in the United States Senate and get it working again. And because we need people, who have proven that they can put their country, and Kentucky, in my case, above their political party. And so my background has all been about that. When I serve with people, I serve with people from all walks of life. I never once in the Marine Corps said, are you a Democrat or Republican before we tackled the mission? And I think we got to get back to that, particularly right now in the middle of a national crisis.
There are ads attacking you on a couple of different issues right now. And so I want to give you a chance to address those attacks directly, all those charges levied against you. First, ads say that you believe in a woman's right to choose even in the final trimester. So very simply, do you believe in that? And if so, why?
I am not for, and never have been for, 9-month abortion. That is a lie. And when you hear that from Senator McConnell, just know that's a lie. I'm somebody who's Catholic. I'm the mother of 3 small children. I believe that, the decision for abortion is a decision that government should not be legislating my personal religious beliefs onto others, and that is a very personal family decision. And that said, I'm somebody that wants to focus on life issues like the Affordable Care Act and getting health care for people, particularly maternity care. Before the Affordable Care Act, there was not a single insurer on the individual market in Kentucky that would cover maternity care. As somebody who is a mom, that's really important to me. So that's where I stand on that issue. And it's really sad that you have Senator McConnell that has to have these attack ads that are just flat out lies.
Another attack is that you support the Green New Deal. Do you?
I have never supported the Green New Deal. I am somebody, however, that believes that climate change is real, unlike many others in government right now. And I look at this from a national security perspective. I'm somebody that looks at everything through the lens of national security. That's been my background. We're seeing wildfires that we've never seen, weather patterns that we've never seen, and we have to tackle this. This is an international concern. We're going to see mass migrations around the world, and we have to get serious about it. And so I do believe that climate change is an issue.
Let's flip the tables just a little bit. You have a commercial that shows you traveling across the Brent Spence Bridge and committing to getting a new bridge for that span. It's in desperate need of repair. Now, assumably, that means that you're in favor of tolls, because we have been told for a decade now that there's no way forward without tolls. So how will you, as a freshman senator,
Yeah.
get this done. And how in the world will you convince the legislators in the Commonwealth, particularly from Northern Kentucky, that tolls are the way to go?
Well, first of all, I'm not for tolls. Look, we have built bridges in this country for many, many years without tolls. And in fact, when you look at infrastructure from the federal level, as I do, everybody that goes across that bridge knows that a very large percentage of traffic that goes across that bridge is not local traffic. That's national traffic. This is a national thoroughfare, and it needs to be repaired and replaced at a national level. And so that's what I want to do. That's something that Senator McConnell is not willing to do. After 36 years, he can't get it done. He doesn't want to get it done. And now he's saying he just needs another 6 years to get it done. Look, we can replace this bridge just like many other bridges around the country have been replaced without tolls. Why? Because it's about infrastructure. We built the interstate highway system 80 years ago. We didn't create tolls for that. It's about making sure that we have the money, we have the ability to do it at the federal level, and we should. And that's what I'm going to be doing. And I know that we're going to be doing this.
You talked about Senator McConnell's not being able to get this done. I mean, he is the Senate Majority Leader. If someone were able to get it done, it would be him without tolls. And again, we have been told here in the greater Cincinnati area that it cannot be done without tolls. How?
Yeah, how? Here's the thing. Senator McConnell doesn't want to get it done. It's not that he's not able. He doesn't want to get it done. Okay? We have the ability to do this as a country. We built our infrastructure in the past. We built the interstate highway system. We brought electricity to Appalachia. We can do this. It does not require tolls. There are many other bridges that have been built. And let's be clear. The Brent Spence Bridge is America's #1 infrastructure emergency. We have to fix this. And we can do it without tolls. And that is what I am saying I will do.
Okay, so I'm going to have about a minute for you to answer this next question about minimum wage. You want to raise the federal minimum wage. The cost of living, of course, varies widely across the country, much less in Kentucky versus other places. So what do you think the federal minimum wage should be across the board?
Well, I think we should gradually increase it to $15 an hour. However, I think more broadly, we should be debating this. Right now, it's $7.25. In Bowling Green, Kentucky, you can't even afford a 1-bedroom apartment working full time on a minimum wage. Think about that. That's not correct. That's not right. We have to raise it. Now, we can quibble over whether it should be 12 or 15 or more. I think it should be 15. But I really believe that we've got to get our democracy back. Right now, Senator McConnell is not allowing debate on any of this stuff.
You know, at $15 an hour, that works out about $31,000 a year. That's not a lot to live on full time at $15,000 or $15 an hour.
Well, I mean, that's why you may think that it should be 20. I think it should be 15 at a gradual over a gradual period of time as a minimum. And that's at the federal level. And then if local municipalities want it to be higher, then they can look at that. But you know what? We've got to raise it. That's really important. I mean, look, $7.25 is just not cutting it for so many people.
Okay, Lieutenant Colonel McGrath, we are going to be back with more from you. We're going to talk healthcare, we're going to talk federal debt, and so much more. Stay with us.
All right.
We're happy to have Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath with us, of course, Democratic candidate for senator from the Commonwealth. Lieutenant Colonel, you've built much of your campaign around healthcare. Your website says the goal of changes to the healthcare system must be healthcare coverage for all Americans. Now, your website also makes it clear you don't favor a single-payer system. So a few questions about that. What level of care should be guaranteed to all Americans?
Well, look, I'm not for a single payer system because I don't think that we need to be throwing people off the healthcare that they like in order to get affordable and accessible healthcare for all Americans. That's the goal. And we can do this. Other countries have been able to do it. We have a very wealthy country. We should be able to do this for everybody. So how do you do it? Well, in my mind, we should be doing things like one, protect the Affordable Care Act, which was not a perfect piece of legislation, but it did Kentucky a lot of good. It took our uninsured rate from 22% down to about 5%. also protected people with pre-existing conditions. So let's make sure that we keep the things we like about the Affordable Care Act, and then let's make it better. So what does that mean? In my mind, it means doing things like the public option. My husband and I both retired from the military. We buy for our family an Uncle Sam plan. I think you ought to be able to buy that too, if you want that. And all Kentuckians, Senator McConnell can have that plan. Why can't everybody else? If you want it, you want a government plan, you should be able to buy it. That would give people more choice. In addition, it would bring down prices because now the private insurers would have to compete with a public option.
Let's talk about what you're talking, continuing on that. Would every medical need based on what you want to do be covered, or only what would be considered essential or preventative care?
Well, you know what? We have some basic rules under the Affordable Care Act, and I think that those are good. Okay. Now, the private plans, I think what we can look at with a public option is you have different tiers, the same way you might have different tiers in a private option. So I think that I'm not going to quibble over what's covered and what's not. I'm going to say that, hey, let's have a good option for people like those of us who served in the military have to buy for our families. Everybody else should be able to do that as well. It would provide people more choice, and then they can decide if they want higher level of coverage. Maybe they go to a private plan. To me, these are really common sense things that we should have done a long time ago. And that we can do in this country. The other thing we need to do is get prescription drug prices down. There are 6 bipartisan bills sitting on Senator McConnell's desk, bipartisan, that passed the House already, and he won't allow a debate on any one of those.
All right, so you have this idea for healthcare, but it's going to cost money. So what is it going to cost? How do you pay for it? You want people to buy into Medicare at age 55. That's 10 years earlier than allowed by law. So that's going to cost a lot of money as well. How does it get done? Well,
particularly with a Medicare buy-in plan, you buy into it. So it's costing the person who's buying into it early. Okay, so that's not the government paying for it. That's a person buying into it early. So just like any other plan that you would buy. Okay, so in a public option is just like any other plan that you would buy. It's just a plan that is run by the government as opposed to a plan that is run by Aetna or United or Blue Cross Blue Shield. So you're still buying it. Okay, so really the cost is not as people say the Medicare for all is costing. It's government run socialized medicine. A public option is not. It is simply your ability to buy into a plan that the government runs. Okay, does that make sense?
Well, I understand it, but there is still a cost because instead of Aetna running it, the government's running it. So there's an administrative at a minimum cost.
Well, it's not for profit. That's the difference. So Aetna running it as a for-profit, but you have a government-run program that's non-for-profit. So the cost is very minimal. Okay, because you're still buying it. As a private individual, you're still buying it. So you are paying into it. All right. So it's nowhere near the cost of Medicare for all. Not even close.
Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath, we have so much more to discuss with you. We need to talk about the federal debt. We need to talk about education and the Supreme Court as well. So we're going to come back with much more. Stay with us. Thanks so much for staying with us, Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath, running for Senate Democrat from Kentucky. So the United States is accumulating record amounts of debt. It is staggering, about $27 trillion right now. And by some accounts, the national debt is larger than the entire economic output of our country. So, of course, a lot of that deficit spending is because of COVID and the pandemic. But how important to you is it for the United States to get its chronic deficit spending under control? And how in the world does that happen?
Yeah, it's really important. So as you just mentioned, a lot of that is because of the COVID relief that we had to do. You know what? A lot of that is because of the tax cuts that Mitch McConnell did 3 years ago, that gave 85% of those tax cuts to the wealthiest 1% in the corporations that weren't paid for at all. So $2 trillion of debt he added on to us. And let's be clear, he's not serious about our debt at all. He has been the Senate Majority Leader and the leader of the Republican Party. He has incurred more debt under his control than any other leader of the Republican Party in American history, all of them combined. So how do we get it under control? The first thing we do is not give these massive tax cuts to the wealthiest 1%. And that's not something I'm going to be for. I'm going to be making sure that we have tax cuts for the middle class, but not for the wealthiest 1%, and not these permanent tax cuts for corporations. That's really important. That's the first step to getting us back on track. And in the middle of a coronavirus, in the middle of a national crisis, we do need to help each other. We do need to help out. And so I think the time to look at our debt is not really in the middle of a national crisis. It was supposed to be 3 years ago when our economy was on track. And unfortunately, Senator McConnell didn't care about that.
All right, I want to talk about education quickly. We're getting short on time. No doubt many students and families and districts need help, but overall education as a state and local responsibility. So how much influence do you think Washington should have over K through 12 schools?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of influence from Washington. I think it's a matter of resources. We have a $20 billion gap in our country between majority white schools and majority non-white schools, between people who grow up or kids that grow up in disadvantaged areas and everybody else. And I think that it is a matter of the federal government to come in and help make sure that gap is less and less. And that's something I'm going to be continuing to work on. Why is that so important? One, it's a basic fairness thing. And two, it's really hurting our country. We're not competing at the level we should compared to other countries. And the federal government can and should help with this. So that's what I want to focus on, resources. Things like universal pre-K. Look, I'm a mom of 3 small kids. If we had more moms in Congress right now, we'd say universal pre-K would be done yesterday. We're the only first world country that doesn't do it. We need to do these things. We also have billions of dollars sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk that would help childcare right now. To me, it's unacceptable to bail out Wall Street and then not take care of childcare centers. Let
me move to the Supreme Court. If former Vice President Joe Biden wins and decides to pack the court, add more seats to the Supreme Court, will you vote to add those seats?
I am not interested in packing the courts. I'm interested in unpacking the Senate. That's why I'm focused on here in the next 15 days, because Senator McConnell has completely weaponized our Supreme Court. If you look back at when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was nominated and confirmed, she was confirmed 96-3 in the Senate. That was in a time before we had this terrible Senate Majority Leader in Mitch McConnell, who has polarized us. Now everything is by. We had members of the Senate who said they would vote for or against this nominee before her name was even announced. This is wrong.
Let me get this right. So, you're saying that you would not vote to pack the court.
I'm saying right at this point, I am not interested in packing the courts. I am interested in unpacking the Senate. That said, I do believe we need to fix this process. And I'll tell you that Senator McConnell has destroyed what was once the greatest deliberative body on earth. And so those people, those of us who are a new generation of leaders who get him out, are going to have to look at making sure that we get our democracy back again. Okay, that's what I'm interested in doing.
Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath, we thank you for spending so much time with us. We have many more questions we wish we could have asked. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for joining us for This Week in Cincinnati. A reminder, you can also see our interview with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. That will be on your favorite streaming device. This week, Governor Mike DeWine said the pandemic is getting worse by the minute in Ohio. The state's new alert map, you can see it here, shows 74% of Ohioans are now living in a red county. Hamilton County is also at risk of moving to the highest alert level, purple. That will indicate people are at risk for severe exposure and spread of the virus, but the purple designation would not automatically trigger any additional restrictions. We do want your opinion about any of the stories you see on WCPO 9 News. You simply call our Feedback Friday hotline, 513-852-4998, night or day. Anchor Craig McKee will share your thoughts every Friday night at 6. And please join us for breaking news, weather, and sports at 6 and 11 tonight on WCPO 9 News. And we're always updating your headlines.